What is going on with Lil Wayne? So, Lil Wayne covers the new issue of Rolling Stone, and this is an interview everyone's talking about because he goes into the Super Bowl, his feelings about Kendrick Lamar, and just other like random things that I think only Weezy could say. So, I thought it'd be fun to talk about this interview. I mean, as someone who's interviewed rappers for over 15 years, I found some really interesting parts of this interview that I think only journalists, people in the industry probably caught that I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to be honest, I was actually surprised to see Wayne on the cover of Rolling Stone. I didn't expect him to, but as I got into the story, he talks about the Super Bowl and everything that went on with that. I actually did a full video breaking down why Lil Wayne should not have headlined the Super Bowl. So feel free to go check that video out. But it's a really topical interview. And to me, it's just very indicative of sort of like this rock star, rap star from like a different era. But let's get into this interview. So this interview was done by Andre G. Shout outs to Andre G. And the photos are by Theo Wenner. So this is the headline: Chasing Lil Wayne, missed interviews, all night studio sessions, and brutal honesty. So before we even get into it, I got to give you some like industry background, like some insider information. For a long time, there's always been this very, I would say, tenuous relationship between the media and artists. And, you would always hear back in the day, even like the heyday of The Source and Double XL and Vibe, where people, even when they were on the cover, they just weren't open to talk. They weren't available. You would always hear these stories about journalists going to the interview, oftentimes having to fly in from New York, and you're just sitting there waiting. Like, I know so many people who have said they have spent hours just like, sitting on the floor of like the hallway in the hotel waiting for the artist to show up. Or you go to the studio and the interview's supposed to start at 8 and the artist doesn't show up till like midnight. And it's funny, I often joke that because of that, I run on like hip hop time. So if they say the interview is at 8, okay, no one's showing up at 8. Like, you kind of show up as the journalist maybe around like 8:30, 8:45. Artists might show up like 9:30, 9:45. Based on what their mood is, they may not even be like warmed up and ready to talk. And if you don't have sort of a pre-existing relationship, it's kind of like dating, right? They don't want to just kind of go straight into having a convo with this stranger. You may not really start the convo till like 10, 11. So this is not uncommon in the world of music journalism, and definitely not in the world of hip hop journalism. But I think after the pandemic, so many interviews are now being done on Zoom or, over the phone. So you don't really see, as sort of like readers, this, what happens behind the scenes of the journalist having to chase down the artist. And I love that Andre, writes about that, because I can only imagine once you read this, you see he basically has to follow Wayne like all over the country. Like, okay, you got to catch him here, or he doesn't want to talk. Go to the studio, he doesn't feel like talking. This, Zoom interviews being canceled, and then you finally end up catching him. I think it was at like SNL or something, SNL 50, where he's just pulling little pieces of the conversation because, from this article, Wayne is just perpetually late. He doesn't like talking to people. I don't think he cares about, a Rolling Stone interview, at least not for, after reading this, it doesn't really seem like he cares. I don't think his team really can track him down. He is on Weezy time, and you get him when you get him and how you get him. So a lot of this article is actually written from the writer's perspective. So that's another sort of like little industry insight. If you ever read an interview and most of the writing is about the journalists themselves, or they have to interview a bunch of other people, so like the manager, other artists, producers, in order to get quotes, that's usually because the main person either wouldn't talk or the stuff that they gave is just not usable. So that's just something for my like eagle-eyed readers. As you're reading celebrity interviews, if you notice that the person it should be about has given like 2 or 3 quotes, that's why it's because the journalist just couldn't get it for one reason or another. Right off the top, this is how it starts. Most of my time in Wayne's orbit, chasing him across the map, has been an exercise in indeterminate waiting. I've already taken 2 trips to Los Angeles for interviews that didn't happen. The latter was due to the wildfires, and then also he didn't want to speak at Atlanta when he was headlining a concert. So, I think already what's so interesting to me, and it's actually just like a hat tip to Rolling Stone, is that they put a writer on this story and they let that writer chase down the story. It's probably because it was a cover, so there's a lot of moving pieces, but I can't think of that many publications in 2025, music publications, hip hop or otherwise, who would have like the staffing to put on, this sort of elusive rapper, but also would pay for it. Like, again, I'm not sure who paid for all these trips and hotels and per diem, but assuming it's Rolling Stone, that is a cost to incur for an interview that you don't know it's going to happen. So that is something that I have to like definitely give a head nod to Rolling Stone, because I think for most publications, even if it's Wayne, if he's dodging and weaving, he's not available, or other things are going on in the world that are, enabling him to not want to do this interview, I could see an editor just killing the story. Like, if we haven't done the photo shoot, let's just kill the story and go with someone that we can get to. Oh, and that's another like pro tip for artists. Be easy to work with. I mean, Wayne is Wayne, so it's like a different story. But if you are a newer artist, be easy to work with. Be someone who's ready and game to do an interview. Be available. Show up when you're supposed to, because most of you are not Lil Wayne, and you're not going to get this level of sort of white glove treatment and service. So I think the first kind of interesting piece of information we get is about the upcoming Carter album. So Wayne mentions a bunch of possible guest appearances. So Elephant Man, MGK, Kanye producing, or at least he produced one track that may not be on the album. So there's like a lot going on. Let's see, there's like Miley Cyrus, there's a Billie Eilish sample. Like, there's just a lot going on in this album. I have no idea what that's going to sound with all of these names that are thrown around. Let's see. Bono, like, I don't know. Apparently Bono is singing on one of the records. So this could either be like amazing and sort of this like all-star group of cross-genre names, or I think it could just be like a lot of chefs in the pot. So that's going to be interesting. So outside of the Carter 6, this is another sort of headline that everyone is talking about. So Wayne headlining the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl was in New Orleans. Obviously, Kendrick headlined it, did a great job with the halftime show. But Lil Wayne was very vocal and adamant that he should have been the one to headline. Now, according to this interview, he claims that the NFL actually sort of encouraged him, saying that he needs to show up at different events, kiss babies, shake hands, do that politicking in order to get that position. So, we don't know about this. Like, nobody can confirm or deny. But according to Wayne, someone who clearly loves sports, he loves being a sports commentator, he feels like he was, kind of sold a dream that, he was supposed to be the one to headline the Super Bowl in his hometown. And instead, they gave it to Kendrick. So according to Wayne, he says that after the Lamar announcement, someone at the NFL apologized and told him, quote, "We ain't in charge," end quote, of the Super Bowl halftime show. He continues, all of a sudden, according to them, they got curved. So I'm going to have to just settle with whatever they say. Rolling Stone continues. So last year, halftime show producer Jesse Collins said that Jay-Z, so obviously Jay-Z and Rock Nation, have a partnership with the Super Bowl. Jay-Z has chosen the Super Bowl act since 2019. So Wayne says, although he's cool with Jay, they haven't really spoken about it. And Rolling Stone says neither the NFL nor Jay-Z responded to a request for comment. So who knows? I mean, a lot of this is just speculation. I do think that the Super Bowl, the league, they probably do love Wayne because, again, he is such a loyal fan of the sport. He loves football, but also the league is huge. So maybe someone at the Super Bowl, again, this unnamed person, did tell Wayne he's a front runner. But unless it's the decision making party, I mean, it really doesn't matter. So the long and the short of it, I think Wayne still feels snubbed for that Super Bowl halftime show. Here's a through line throughout this article. Wayne kind of has no idea what's going on, like in the world, in life. He didn't know that Not Like Us was about Kendrick. He didn't know about Watch the Throne. That album, when it's brought up, he seems to be completely confused. When Sexy Red is brought up, he has no idea who that is. And, at one point he says, if it's not on, Fox Sports or on a sports related platform, he has no idea what's going on. I know people think that's crazy, but I actually believe him. I don't think Lil Wayne is plugged into anything that doesn't involve Lil Wayne. And that's not a diss to Wayne. I think that's just life, right? I mean, nowadays everyone is bombarded with so many news and headlines. We all kind of live in our, little algorithmic bubble. So if you're Wayne, you only know what pertains to you. What deal is making you money, what record is about you, what headline is about you. Anything else, I think, just kind of falls by the wayside. So I know a lot of people are shocked by that. And that's the story that keeps circulating. How could Wayne not know what's going on? I don't think he's the exception. I really think a lot of people, especially at his level of celebrity and wealth and fame, they have no idea. If it's not about him and that's what means something to him, everything else is just noise. Even as you go later into this article, obviously Donald Trump pardoned Lil Wayne when it came to his gun charges. And it was Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who finagled the meeting. And Wayne's I didn't know who he was. So again, I just don't think before the meeting, most of us would have gone on Google or maybe Wikipedia, who is this person who's potentially helping me? I think in the world of Lil Wayne, it's whatever. And then when the writer asks Wayne about, that famous photo he took, smiling with Trump, he's just completely, impervious to it. But one thing he says, there's is the widespread criticism something that affects Wayne? And he says, fuck no, I don't care about no backlash for nothing I do. You know me, man. That's it. So in the world of Lil Wayne, he really doesn't care. And I think for fans or critics or people expecting him to care, he's telling you here in black and white, he really doesn't care. Again, this is Wayne's world and we just live in it. And yeah, it continues. He talks about Wayne pretty much harassing a female reporter, all of these other things. And I think Andre G sort of sums it up well. It says, Lil Wayne can be hilarious, personable, and insightful when he wants to be. And then it continues. He can also be coarsely crude when he wants. So yeah, that's just kind of who Wayne is. He is who he is. So yeah, there you have it. This is the Lil Wayne Rolling Stone cover story. I'm going to link the full article below. I highly, highly suggest that you read it. It's an entertaining read. But again, I think as a hip hop journalist, it makes me happy to see hip hop on the cover of Rolling Stone. So that's just number one. And I think it's also very reminiscent of these superstar artists where, you're kind of chasing them to get the story. You may get what you want. You may hear what you don't want. This is someone who's very sort of defiant, has kind of a devil may care attitude. And some of the sound bites are great. Some of them are a little cringe, but it's who Lil Wayne is. And I think that's something we don't really see in hip hop journalism or in rap media in a whole. So I think it's always refreshing to read these kind of long form articles where somebody really tracked down Lil Wayne to try to tell that story. So there you have it. That is the Lil Wayne story. I would love to know what your thoughts are after you read the story. Don't just read the headlines. I know social media likes to, kind of excavate just the headlines. Read the full story. Journalists need the clicks. And let me know in the comments what you think about this article.